Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. Here at the Racecourse grounds in Mumbai, where another COVID facility, more than 500 beds, is coming up, I'm joined by Minister in the Maharashtra government, someone who's won a lot of applause for being hands-on. Even when things don't go very well, he's there. He's taking the criticism on his chin. He's trying to do the best he can. Aditya Thackeray. Aditya, is this, in a sense, the toughest moment of your life so far, your young life in politics?
I hope so. But more than tough, I think it's really, it is a challenge for us as the human race around the world, because this is something we've never seen. The scale of this pandemic is huge. Again, how this virus goes around, is it changing, is it not changing, how do you treat it? Everyone is putting their minds to it. So of course, as an administration, we're trying to grapple with the growing numbers, and again, we're not fearing the numbers. We are trying to go and chase all the cases. We're doing our best in terms of beds, ambulances, cases, tracing, contact tracing, all of that is going on. You've been roaming around in the city, you've been going to facilities. What we're also trying to do is create a medical buffer of beds before we, begin again. So, before we begin again, we need to have facilities where you can go, lie down, take oxygen. I think that is what we're doing.
So let's just walk through one such place where a facility like this is in fact going to come up, Aditya. Let me ask you, what's been the toughest thing? I've seen you being very proactive. I have tweeted you about patients who can't get beds. You've tried to help them. But the fact of the matter is that public hospitals in Mumbai are overburdened, and there's a perception that private hospitals, despite being requisitioned, are not stepping up to the plate.
To be very honest, everyone has been helpful, be it government hospitals, private hospitals, doctors, corporates, everyone is coming forward and helping each other. Even the media, so to say, everyone's just helping each other.
Yeah.
Of course, like I said, the quantum of this, the scale of this is so huge, and the population in our country, you're never going to be able to manage it. Mumbai, the municipal corporation hospitals have more than 13,500 beds. Government hospitals are equipped, but still, every day is, somewhere you need to keep adjusting, keep changing, keep evolving, and that's what we're trying to do.
So explain that to me. When I looked at the numbers, I have understood that there are 20,000 beds in the private hospital system, another 5,000 in the public hospital system, and 25,000 active cases here. Even if you say 80% are asymptomatic, which means about 5,000 need beds, 1,200 need critical care beds, why are we running short?
No, it's about finding the right bed at the right time. Like you said, asymptomatic. Now, most of the asymptomatic people around the world are being treated at home.
Yeah.
But in a city like Mumbai, where you have community toilets, where you have, 10 people living in a one-bedroom house, that is where the challenge arises. That is where we have to give a bed, because the asymptomatic person could be a carrier as well.
Right.
That is where we need to give a bed and oxygen. At sometimes, if it is mildly symptomatic, we have to wait for about 7 days to see whether the case escalates or not. So that is happening, but in terms of the challenge, I think the government has stepped up to it. If you remember, or if you go by the data, for an epidemic like this, with isolation, we had about 400 beds in our hospitals. We've ramped it up to about 5,000 beds. The modular hospital facility, we'd have roughly about 9,500 beds by mid-June. So that is what we're doing. Again, 385 ambulances in service already. You have to disinfect all of them in the turnaround time. So all of this is going on.
But there's a sense that Mumbai is very much mirroring New York. Its hospitals are overrun. I've personally been to hospitals where there are COVID and non-COVID people together in the casualty ward. There are cardboard strips on the floor. There are people waiting on stretchers. And I am not judging the hospitals or the doctors. I'm not even judging the government. I'm simply saying this is what's happening. When you see images like this, what goes through your mind and what do you do?
What goes through my mind is only one thing: how can we keep improving this? How can we help? But of course, we can't mirror any other city in the world, because yes, we are at the scale of such cities, but again, we have a huge population that's living in slums. We have a huge population that's living in houses which have community toilets. When we impose a lockdown, you have to manage all these things. You also have to realize that there will be people who touch the same doorknobs and the same, things around. That is where the spread might happen, and that's why we have to be more cautious. We have to go disinfecting many more times. So that is always going to happen, and that's where we're trying to tackle this challenge. Really, we're going door to door, doing SARI surveillance, for any respiratory disease, be it fever, be it, your pulse oximeter. So all these things are going on, and we have to keep doing this.
Now, I met a woman at Nair Hospital, which is a COVID-only public hospital, and she's been staying at the hospital for 11 days, and she actually said there's such a shortage of staff that she has to clean up the room where her mother stays. She has to clean up the toilet. And what I'm really picking up everywhere, including at your very fantastic dome COVID facility, Aditya, is a shortage of staff. Why is there a shortage of staff? staff?
Looking at the amount of patients and the amount of doctors and the ratio we've always had in India, we will always have a shortage of staff in terms of being thinly spread. Yes, a lot of fear does exist. Also, another thing is we've been asking for local railway to start for essential workers, be it police, be it nurses. They come from different cities around Mumbai. If this starts, maybe there might be a rise of 10 to 15% in the staff coming to a
So
hospital.
you want local trains to start?
For essential services and essential staff only.
So whose decision, like where is that decision?
We have asked the centre to do that. They have been more or less cooperative in many more things. The railways has been one place where we've been asking this, I think, for quite a while. I guess it will start soon.
And do you think that there's also a problem that some private doctors are just not showing up to work? Because my information is that private hospitals are functioning at 20 to 40% capacity instead of 100% capacity.
Look, I mean, you have to take into account that there is a lot of fear in the people. A doctor is finally human at the end of the day. Of course, we are in a medical war. At that time, the soldiers are asked to step up, and we've been requesting all doctors to come forward. We've been providing to PPEs to as many people as we can. But while we do that, there is a certain amount of stigma, there is a certain amount of fear.
Yeah.
I think now is the time for empathy. As governments, we can also be stricter, we can, go with the stick. But the point is, right now we have to understand each other, support each other, help each other. I think that is the moment for us right now.
What do you, as a young person, as a young politician who's tech savvy, what would you like people to understand that you think maybe hasn't been understood so far?
No, I think it's about, just one thing, that today we've come to a point where we are isolating ourselves.
Yeah.
We are in quarantine, we are in a lockdown. And this is something that we as, I don't know for how many years we've never seen this before. I don't think in the world wars as well, transport had come to a grinding halt as this time, or trade and commerce.
Yeah.
So we've got to realize that there is a time for us to change our habits, to realize that we live in sync with nature. Tomorrow is World Environment Day. And we've got to improve our own habits. It's about keeping yourself intact, clean and safe. Probably the post-COVID world would be different. If there is a vaccine, I don't know if the human race goes back to normal again, but what is the new normal is something we'll all have to realize and understand. But definitely there will be newer things, like for example, work from home. A lot of people can work from home. So all these things really matter now.
Aditya, I've been traveling across the country and I've seen about 12 states now, and I've come to believe that the lockdown beyond a point is not useful, right? Especially when you look at Mumbai. You look at 8,000 toilets for 8 lakh people in Dharavi, right? You guys have just come into government. These are legacy issues. I get that. But the bastis, the congestion, after a point you can't hide from the world. Are you in favor of pretty much getting to a point where the lockdown lifts very rapidly or not yet?
There are a couple of things in the lockdown that I would really want to put out. First thing is, a lockdown cannot be a knee-jerk reaction. The government of Maharashtra essentially started off with the lockdown around 8th or 9th of March. We shut down gyms, spas, malls, theatres, then we went into educational institutes, got them shut down. And by 23rd March, when the Honorable Prime Minister declared a lockdown, we were more or less already into a lockdown. Likewise, when we are saying begin again, when we started Mission Begin Again, we have to start slow and steady. We have to be, staggered, because according to whatever I've spoken to many doctors, herd immunity is also another word in many countries for helplessness. The amount of population that you put at risk is huge. And can we do that in a country like ours where we have so many people? That is one thing. The other thing is, lockdown, of course, is not the medical solution, but it is a pause mode where the government, where the medical services can actually reach out to people, get them tested, get them screened, and you find them where they are and you can help them isolate and contain the spread. I think that is crucial. How you use the lockdown is very, very crucial.
But you have people like Rajiv Bajaj who've gone on record again and again, including to me, saying the lockdown has flattened the economic curve, not the corona curve.
Absolutely. I mean, each one will have his own perspective. And, for that, of course, everyone has to have a perspective and has to have a perspective on how do we come out of this lockdown. But the point is, currently, it's helped us to reach out to people, contain the spread. There are also, projections where if we wouldn't have had the lockdown, what would our numbers be? And, you said New York. If you compare the numbers of New York to what they are of Mumbai or any other state in Maharashtra, in India, there is a vast difference, and that probably is also because we've been able to contain the spread with the lockdown. So these are always going to be ifs and buts and projections, but I think we have to deal with what is and try to save lives first.
Now, you had an acrimonious political parting with the BJP. How has it been like to work with the centre? We see these chief ministers' video conferences. Does the Prime Minister really listen to chief ministers?
To be very honest, the relationship between Chief Minister of Maharashtra and Prime Minister of India right now in this whole, COVID time has been very, very cordial. They have been in
Cordial is a very cryptic word.
No, it's been cordial, and they have been in communication, and they have sort of been communicating on a daily basis, on a regular basis rather than a daily basis. I think that is good because finally we are a structure where everyone has to work together. Be it the Prime Minister and Chief Minister, be it the Chief Minister, neighboring Chief
But
Minister.
is the Prime Minister taking inputs from the states?
Yes, I mean the centre and states and the other states are working in sync. So that is more
Any one complaint, a lot of chief ministers I've met, a lot of state governments are complaining about financial aid not coming through from the centre.
I mean, you'd have to ask the Chief Minister for that. I wouldn't be able to speak as the Chief Minister.
Okay, as a young politician, there's another, not so young, but at least your generation, Rahul Gandhi, who seemed to disassociate himself from the Shiv Sena, and he said there's a difference between supporting a government and being part of it, and a lot of people criticized him from that. It seems like he was just taking no responsibility for what's happening here, even though he's an alliance partner.
No, not really. If you see the video later and then what we spoke also, I think he's clarified the stand, and he's also put out the real video, which was not twisted. So I think that's good enough.
So you weren't angry when you heard that?
We have been in constant touch.
He reached out?
Yes, we have been speaking, and of course we have been speaking on this issue also. So we are reaching out, and everyone's reaching out to each other. We're working on, we're going beyond political lines, and everyone's working together.
Finally, there's some sense, you're saying this is going beyond politics, but there's a sense that for the BJP, this is somehow a moment, this is a tenuous alliance, somehow to maybe bring this government down. Are you worried?
I think more than worried, it saddens me that probably, the Maharashtra unit of the BJP is the only party in the world today that is indulging in politics. And talking of, then you have the trolls going on, okay, this is a government of 6 more days, 7 more days, when all of us, including the Prime Minister, including union ministers, including their other chief ministers who are in touch with our chief minister, are talking about COVID relief, when we are all indulging in actually responding to people. We shouldn't be getting into politics of, governments or, the social media trolls who are getting into politics of hate, division, spreading lies, trying to spark riots. That is what worries me the most.
So Fadnavis disappointed you?
I think it's about the local state unit that is the only unit in the world that's indulging in politics. And I think it's just indigestion of the fact that they're not in power. But this is not the time for that.
Finally, what keeps Aditya Thackeray awake at night? There's that moment at night when you just can't sleep, and there's one thing that keeps bothering people. What is that thing that bothers you the most? And what has been your biggest learning in this very difficult time?
I think the biggest learning is, again, the greatest satisfaction is when you can really help someone. And, it's about all my colleagues, it's about the administration also, the officers in the government, right from the top to the bottom. All of us have been up at night trying to help people, as many people as we can reach out to, because nighttime is one when you can get a little panicky and chaotic.
Yeah.
That's where we really need to go out, reach out to people who believe, probably who needs an ICU, but or who thinks he needs an ICU but needs just an oxygen bed. So these are things where you can just reach out, calm them down, and give them help.
And what keeps you up at night? This
is what is going on, and when you're a night bird, then you tend to, try to reach out and help.
Has the pandemic changed you personally?
The mask, sanitizer, I was, we are all reluctant to hug each other, we're all, so of course we've been, keeping social distances, but sanitizers have always been a part of my life.
Oh, really?
Because you end up touching so many surfaces when you're traveling, right? So you obviously need to keep your hands clean. So that is one thing that has not changed.
You're ahead of the curve, Aditya. Thank you so much. I just want to say that, I think the public forgives mistakes, but they appreciate people and politicians are hands-on. So please keep being that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditya Thackeray. Aditya Thackeray, minister in the government here, telling us about what his biggest fears are, talking about a process of unlocking a beginning, and also saying that the Prime Minister right now is on cordial terms with his father, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and he's particularly upset about Rahul Gandhi's slightly enigmatic comments disassociating himself from the Maharashtra government, that Rahul Gandhi has picked up the phone and clarified things to him.